the number of items in every subscale. They revised the scale into a second version recently. For these two versions, they consistently found that the three positive dimensions of communication behavior have positive correlation with team cohesion, and the negative conflict behavior has negative correlation with team cohesion. Our purpose is to examine the concept of effective team communication in Chinese culture. In study 1, we revised the second version of SECTS into a Chinese version by means of item analysis and confirmatory factor analysis. In study 2, we examined the criteria validity of the Chinese version by using team cohesion as criteria. Participants in study 1 are 210 young athletes from 17 elementary and junior high school sport teams of 9 different sports. After a standard back translation protocol, we exploratively add one item to the distinctiveness subscale. This item is we use eye contact that only team members would understand. We made this decision for two reasons. The first reason is that past research showed that eye contact behavior would influence athletes' impression toward their opponents and coaches. The second reason is that when Sullivan and colleagues revised the second version of SECTS, their purpose is to balance the number of items in every subscale. So initially, the Chinese version has 4 subscales, and each subscale contains 4 items. However, results from our item analysis show that the first item in distinctiveness subscale has low item total correlation, and the complex alpha increased significantly after deleted item. So the item was deleted. The item was when our team communicates, we use nicknames. This item was deleted. In this phrase, the Chinese version has 4 subscales and 15 items. Results from CFA showed that the measurement model has ideal comparative fit, ideal parsimonious fit, and acceptable absolute fit to the data. With respect to the internal fitness, values from R-squared, composite reliability, average variance extracted show that this scale has good reliability. All factor loadings show that this scale has good convergent validity. And 95% confidence interval of correlation coefficient between each latent variable did not include 1, which means that this item has good discriminant validity. With the reliable and the valid instrument, we then proceed to examine the criteria validity of this concept. Participants in study 2 are 193 young athletes from 17 elementary school sport teams of 5 different sports. We use the Chinese version of SECTS from our study 1 to measure the effectiveness of team communication. And we use a Chinese version GEQ to measure team cohesion. Data in all subscales revealed good internal consistency. According to Sullivan and his colleagues' work, we hypothesized that the 3 positive communication behaviors would have positive correlation with team cohesion, and the negative conflict behavior would have negative correlation with team cohesion. Results from Pearson correlation showed that the 3 positive dimensions of communication has positive correlation with all dimensions of team cohesion, and the negative conflict behaviors has negative correlation with one dimension of team cohesion. Although our results are generally consistent with Sullivan's results, there are several interesting differences between our findings and their findings. First, Sullivan and colleagues consistently found that negative conflict behavior has negative correlation to only task dimensions of team cohesion. However, we found that negative conflict behaviors has negative correlation to only social dimension of team cohesion. Their samples are adult athletes. Our samples are much younger. We suppose that maybe negative conflict behaviors have different effect on team cohesion for sport teams composed of athletes with different age. Furthermore, consistent with Sullivan's findings, we found that the three positive dimensions of communication behavior positively correlate with each other. However, it is worth noting that as negative conflict behaviors is destructive in nature, it would be more reasonable for negative conflict behaviors to have negative correlation or no correlation with the other three dimensions. Our results are in line with this notion. This is the result from our study 1. And this is the result for our study 2. But in Sullivan and his colleagues' findings, they generally found that negative conflict behaviors has positive correlation with the other three dimensions. This is their result in 2003, and this is their result in 2011. At first glance, our results would be more reasonable, but according to Sullivan and his colleagues' conceptualization, effective team communication is the frequency of resources exchanged within teams. We suppose that maybe there are different communication behavior patterns exist in sport teams composed of athletes with different age. Or maybe sports teams in Western culture and Chinese culture differ in their communication styles, reflected in several key resources such as negative conflict behaviors. In general, our findings provide preliminary support for the validity of the concept of effective team communication in Chinese culture, as team communication plays an important role in team functioning. We encourage future studies to examine the factorial invariance of this concept in terms of several variables. The first variable is age. With maturation, athletes may develop more mature communication behaviors. The second variable is gender. Past research shows that males and females differ in their disposition of value priorities. Males tend to place self-enhancement value in higher priority. In contrast, females tend to place self-transcendence values in higher priority. Males will pursue such as power, achievement. In contrast, females will pursue benevolence, universalism. The third variable is competitive level. As training and the group climate may have a major difference between sport teams with different competitive level. They may develop different communication styles. The fourth variable is sport types. Compared with interactive sports, competitive sports may render athletes to develop different communication styles. For example, athletes in basketball team and athletes in swimming team may have different communication behavior patterns. In addition, we are now in the process of exploring other possible key resources exchanged between athletes and the communication behaviors between athletes and the coach dialogue, and the antecedents and consequences of this concept. Thank you for your attention. As we know, a good leader should always be a good communicator. A good leader should not only pay attention to the frequency of resources, which would influence team cohesion, but also pay attention to the allocation of resources, which may influence athletes' justice perceptions. My colleagues on Mingwen will tell you more about it. Let's welcome her.